Knowing any language is a superpower. The more languages you know, the more superpower you have. So recently, I reread an old Tintin album, which I had read earlier, a very long time ago, in English for the first time. Now, with Tintins, I remember I was introduced to Tintins, the adventures of Tintin, in my native language, which is Bengali. And that was when I was really small. And Tintins used to appear in a very popular children's magazine called Anandamala in Bengali. It was very popular back then. I don't know if it's still as popular as it was in our days, because that was one of the few magazines, children's magazines dedicated totally for children. And they featured most of Tintin albums, 2 pages per week. I think it was a weekly magazine, or if memory serves me right, it was weekly or monthly. Uh, Whatever the case may be, there used to be 2 pages of Tintin, and that was what I used to jump into. And at that time, I really did not know how to read Bengali very well. And it was my mom or my sister who used to read it out to me. And later on, of course, I started reading it myself. And I remember back at that time, the first Tintin adventure I read, or I was read to by my sister or my mom, was The Crab with the Golden Claws, or Le Crab au Prince de. Now, why Tintin? Because Tintin, I started reading them in Bengali, or I was being read to in Bengali. So I knew about Tintin in my native language, in Bengali. And in Bengali, Tintin is called Tintin, just like English. Because evidently Tintin was translated from English. It wasn't translated directly from French. That is what I made out later on. I'll tell you the reason why. And the first one was this one, I think, Le Pub Pasteur. This is the adventure where Captain Haddock first appears, and then of course these two, le secret de la licorne, or the secret of the unicorn, and Red Dracon's treasure, or le trésor de Rackham le Rouge. They were fabulous. And then, of course, then came the Seven Crystal Balls, the Sept Boules de Cristal. This gave me nightmares. Remember, it was strange. It was, if you remember the story, I know all you Tintin lovers would remember the story about this. And the second part, the top producer later, Temple of the Sun. Anyhow, later on, much later, at the age of 10, me and my sister we were sent to boarding schools in Kurseong near Darjeeling, and that was where I started. I mean, we were other boys, and I started. Uh, One of my friends, especially is listening. I think it's probably Shubhojit Pakrasi, a friend of mine, very close and dear friend of mine. Pakrasi, I think he gave me my first English Tintin, if I remember correctly. And I don't remember which, of course. And I came to know because they had a back cover. It was not hardbound, but it was paperback, but the proper size. And at the back, you had all these, and I just couldn't wait to read them. I think the first one I ever read in English was Le Cigare de Pharaon, or Pharaon, Pharaon, or the Cigars of the Pharaoh. I think that's the first one. The Maharaja of Gaipa Jama. That was really funny because Gaipa Jama means a person. Well, if you translated Gaipa Jama in Bengali, it would mean a man wearing uh, a pajama as a shirt, a guy on his body, a guy pajama. I don't know who translated or who gave this funny name to Hergé. And of course, in a very short time, I think I read all of them until the Picaros, except Les Aventures de Tintin, reporter de, du Petit Vingtième au pays des Soviets. This was never translated into English, and Tata au Congo, which is controversial, because this is where the depiction of Africans is highly criticized. But Hergé of being of that time, maybe, and yeah, those attitudes, you know, I think he made a mistake, and I think he had profusely later in his life he had profusely uh, he had said sorry. He had apologized for his depiction of Africans in Tata and Congo, and also in Loïc Cassé, I think he himself appears uh, as a black person, but in a very stereotypical way, the depiction. So that is why Hergé was highly criticized for his racism, but I think he was not really a racist in that sense. I think it was just the stereotypical idea, and he was probably, I don't know why. I mean, uh, it's another topic anyway. That's not what I'm doing this video for. It's more about language because this whole series is a series which I read. I was introduced in my native language in Bengali, and then later on I read everything I could find, all of them except the first two in English. By the age of 13, I had read all of them, and I had started even collecting them. The first one I bought was the Orthodox Scepter. Back then in school, and when I was in residential in boarding school in Kursa in Victoria, our school was Victoria Boys School, no English public school still exists, and supposedly the most haunted place on in India nowadays. Well, we used to the boys, the hosteliers, the boys in the hostel, they were allowed to go down to town. It was called town exit, maybe 2 or 3 times a year if you're lucky. And after lunch on a sunny, if the day was sunny, that would be very nice. We would go down from the foggy place down for 5 kilometers downhill to the town of Kursion, where quaint little town. And the first place I used to visit was a little bookshop where you could buy Tintins and Asterixes. By then, I was also introduced to Asterix, and of course, again, I started reading all of them and buying as many as I could. Didn't have a lot of money back then, so I couldn't afford much. And the other comic books we could find was in another little shop, Commander Comics of the Second World War. Small ones, black and white comic books, uh, and of course Superman slash Gordon and stuff like that. But Tintin and Asterix were special. They were something else. I mean, compared to American comics, the French in France and Belgium, it's an art form. The variety, the quality, and the storytelling, it's something else. And then, of course, I was not so interested in Donald Duck, although I could draw Duck and Mickey Mouse easily on the classboard. I used to do that sometimes, but yeah, Tintin, wow. I mean, we grew up with Tintin. And the first one I think I bought was when I was around 12 or 13 years old, and I remember, or even earlier, I believe. I remember buying the first one in Guwahati because that's where we lived. And on holidays, I walked all the way from Maliga to Charali, uh, quite a long way. And there was one little, tiny little hole in the wall bookshop where they had Tintin. And I think I bought The first one I ever bought was King of the Scepter, which was fantastic. I just loved it. I mean, who doesn't? Who wouldn't? At that age, Tintin was a window to the outer world from uh, for a little boy from a small town, a small city, right? Of course, this particular album I recently reread, and that started me thinking about languages because this is a series, as I said, I had started reading them, I had read them in Bengali and then in English by the age of 13. I had read all of them. By then, of course, I was reading other books. I was already reading Terry Mason. I used to, we took a house in St. Mary's village about a kilometer and a half from the same town. And on weekends, I was no more in the residential, in the hostel, so I had all the freedom. So in the afternoon, I would somehow collect the princely sum of rupees 31. That was the price back then for an album, Argentine album, not hardcover. Uh, and I would head to the shop and buy either an Asterix or the first Asterix I remember was Asterix and the Normans, uh, also in English. And then later on in my 20s, when I learned French, I was introduced to all the Tintin albums and Asterixes. Tintin's, I mean, I met one of my closest friends. He's an illustrator, an artist, a cartoonist. He's brilliant. His name is Yves Cotten. C'est toi, Yves, qui m'avait donné tous ces albums de Tintin pour la première fois. Et je te remercie encore une fois parce que c'était la première fois que je pourrais lire Tintin en français original. Euh, so that was the first time I read Tintin in its original form, and then I realized a lot of things. For example, the names. Tintin is pronounced as Tintin in French. That's the first difference. Uh, Captain Haddock is Captain Haddock, which is more or less the same thing. But Professor Calculus, and this is why, as I said before, that the Bengali version of Tintin was translated from not from the French, but from the English, because Professor Calculus means Professor Calculus in Bengali too. But the original name of Professor Calculus is Professor Tournesol. That is Tournesol. Now, tournesol in French means sunflower. But if you break it down, it's a combination of two words. Tourne, Tourno or Tourne. Tourne is the verb which means turns, that which turns, to turn, right? And sol, S-O-L, means the earth. So tune sol, somebody who turns the earth. You know, Professor Calculus, of course. Tune sol, he has these amazing discoveries and inventions, right? Inventions, rather, yeah. Uh, of course, discoveries in this pendulum avec le pendule, which acts crazy at times, and in this one too. Anyhow, vol 714 pour Sydney, Les Aventures de Tata. No, I'm not going to read this out to you by any chance, but I read it recently. And the reason is because, all these videos that have surfaced about UFOs again these days. And I remembered this particular album, which has extraterrestrials. And this happens to be the only adventure which none of the characters remember later on because they were hypnotized and made to forget. Their memory was wiped clean, like Men in Black. So they don't remember anything, they just remember being in an accident, that's all. So when I read it in English, it was strange, it was fantastic, it reminded me of Eric von Daniken's Chariots of Gods and Fires, things like that, extraterrestrials. all those things that you grow up with, all the subculture, and so it's all that is exciting, and it is explained in a crazy way, in a crazy adventure. The characters are funny, exciting. You learn such a lot. And there it is. Now I was reading it in French. I had read this in French when I got it from Yves, of course. I remember I used to go and borrow from him every other week one album, and it helped in learning French, of course. And the most fascinating thing, the first thing I noticed in this album was the spelling of the city called Jakarta in the island of Java. It was so exotic, and then the spelling itself, I mean Djkarta, they had to drop that spelling. That was the old Dutch spelling. The Dutch they always use DJ instead of J, the sound ja. But somehow nowadays in standard Indonesian or standard Bahasa Malay, they've dropped. Of course, Bahasa Malay never had that because that was a British colony. But I think it's a great loss for Indonesia dropping that DJ. With DJ reading Jakarta as DJKARTA, I don't know. I mean, I like that. I would rather spell it that way. But of course, nowadays it is written as just Jakarta. Now, what struck me this time? This time, it was suddenly a lot of things came back to me because now, uh, in my 20s, I had never been outside India except Nepal and Bhutan. Uh, but now I have traveled a little here and there, and I had actually worked in Jakarta for 2 years. So here I was back in Jakarta again. It's kind of revisiting Jakarta, even for a little while, at the airport. And the first vignette itself, in the very first picture, in the very first box, it reads Jakarta dans l'île de Java. Jakarta in the island of Java. En provenance, en provenance de Londres, le Boeing 707 ou 707 de Qantas, vol 714, vient de se poser sur l'aérodrome de Kemajoran. Sa dernière escale avant Sardinia Escal avant Sydney. That means Jakarta, in the island of Java, on its journey from London, the Boeing 707 of Qantas, Flight 714, has just landed at the aerodrome of Kemajoran, its last stop before Sydney. Now, the spelling is Kemajoran. I suppose this is the old spelling, old Dutch spelling. Nowadays they spell it as Kemayoran. This is pronounced as Kemajoran. It is not Kemajoran. Now, this was, for me personally, this was amazingly exciting. And I'll tell you why. Because this is the exact place where I lived in Jakarta when I reached Jakarta in 2003. I worked in a school which was initially in a place called Ancol in Jakarta, and it was at the time when I joined the school, there was a new school being built just near the airport. The airport did not exist anymore. The huge runways had been turned into huge four-way roads, crossroads, and the area was largely empty. Some new constructions happening, and at one corner, just beside the airport, the old airport where the old airport used to be, the new school, the Gandhi Memorial International School, where I had joined, was being built. And just opposite that was a condominium where the teachers lived, and we were given a flat in Kina Yoram. And that's where I stayed for the next 2 years. In fact, I changed my residence later to another place called Kilaka Gandhi. But anyhow, most of the Indian teachers were given apartments in Kemayoran. So I mean, the name Kimayoran now it has special meaning for me. So that was the first thing. And now I had acquired yet another language. When I say acquired, I have only a smattering of Bahasa Indonesia like now. I can just about go around, find my way, talk to the taxi driver. Uh, uh, I cannot, I can converse a little bit, sedikit, a little bit. Because when I was there, I was getting better and better. A little bit of, I was getting fluent. I was getting a lot of interest. But but then I left, and sadly, I've lost most of my Indonesian. But I do speak a smattering. It's a smattering. That's exactly how I refer to my Indonesian skills. But even a smattering is quite a lot. I mean, I could go to Indonesia and find my way around and do a lot of things and understand a lot of much more. A lot more and understand a lot of more of the culture and appreciate it. Find my way around. Finding your way around in a foreign country, that's important, and especially where people speak less English or the language you use. That's something, right? Yeah, that is what I mean by superpower. That's one of the superpower you acquire when you learn a language. Now, I mean, not only just a language, it could be a computer language too, because you can make things with language. You can do anything with language if you really think about it. It's not just a tool for communication. That's just a basic minimum, right? I hope you agree with me when I say so. Anyway, the point of this video is to show you parts where she has used Bahasa Indonesia. He does that whenever Putin goes or Tata goes on an aventure uh, to a foreign land, which he does go all the time. There are parts where the local people will speak their own language between themselves, or sometimes they just use it when they're angry, right? And this is where he has made some mistakes. One of the biggest mistakes was in Tintin in Tibet or Tata or Tibet, where a coolie in Kathmandu speaks in Hindi. Uh, that's a mistake. I don't know why he couldn't find a Nepali speaker to. He mixed up. Probably his research was not right. Probably because both Nepali and Hindi uses the same alphabet, the Devanagari script. And I think he just found someone who just told him a few Hindi sentences. And in Nepal, I mean, although these days a lot of Nepali people speak Hindi, but no, not really. I mean, when they get angry or if they want to speak, they'd rather speak in Nepali, and that would be more authentic. So that's one mistake Hergé has made, which I hope he didn't live to correct it, but maybe someday somebody, I don't know, who has the right to do that. It wasn't much. But here, now when I'm reading this again, uh, uh, I was excited because now here I came across for the first time because the Indonesian used here made no sense to me at all back then. And back then we did not have Google Translate to even try and understand or understand what was being spoken. But these are usually hilarious. He tries to make something, you know how it is. Uh, there's a lot of humor. So the first time he has used humor in this was when the plane is hijacked and it is taken down to the sea level. And when they break out of the clouds, the plane almost collides with a boat, a fishing boat, a sampan, I think I would say. And this is what happens. They narrowly miss the boat, and the boat is almost, its mast is almost broken. I think sails are flying everywhere. And this guy is really, really angry. And what did he say? Kurang ajar. Apa tidak bisa jaga Sapiona lajar? Apa gila? Now, the first thing to notice here is that the spelling is again in the Dutch way. Modern Indonesian would just use J, not DJ. So when he says kurang ajar, it should be AJAR. Now, kurang means less, and kurang ajar means less educated, less taught, less skilled, something like that. So it's a swear word. Like, you know, unskilled people, uneducated people, it's a swear word. Apa tidak bisa jaga sapiona lajar? Can't you just train your pilots, your students better? Apa gila? You're crazy. So that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Okay, so that's one little gem I found here. Uh, yeah, so that's how it is. Language, languages contain gems. That is, if you know how to look for it, and how to look for it, learn a new language. Now let's look for other instances. I think the next instance where Indonesian has been used was a conversation, a very small conversation between two prisoners, two guards, two of these guards. Two of the guards somewhere later, I think. Let me just find that place. Where... Now, this is funny thing going on here. This is where the arch villain, the Rastapopoulos arch villain, he comes in of, many of these adventures. Rastapopoulos is a Greek uh, pirate, the evil boss. He's conducting, he's injecting this really the millionaire who never laughs, Karyadas. His name is Karyadas. He's injecting him with a truth serum, and you know truth serums they never work. And he's trying to get the number of his bank account, and then this man. Then funny thing happens is he himself gets injected by accident, and then they start competing against each other, telling each other who is more evil. I mean, the millionaire or the evil the villain boss who wants to take away all his money, and then they start telling how from a very young age they had stolen the money from their father and sister, and I mean the absolute worst. And this is funny because here this is a social commentary about how millionaires are, what they are, what CEOs are like. You know, they are no different from villains. That's how it is. So that's a bit of better. Now here, these two gods, they are talking in French. I don't know why they are talking in French. He somehow never translated because this god says, "On aurait dit un chien, no? I would have said it's a dog, no? Oui, en effet, oui, yes, in effect. I think they heard Snowy's uh, sound of a dog. Now, Snowy. That brings us to Snowy. Snowy is a is a name of Tintin's dog in English version. In the French original version, Snowy is not Snowy, but Millie. That's Snowy's real name, Millie. Tata et Millie. Les aventures de Tata et Millie. But in Bengali translation was funny. Tintin was Tintin, but Snowy or Milu was turned into a very cute name in Bengali. Puttush. I mean, Kutush. I mean, I think if you look around, if you go around Bengal, there might be many dogs named after Snowy called Kutush. Kutush. Kutush is very cute in Bengali. I mean, the sound at least. Now, Kutush. On the other hand, in Bengali, the translation of names. Well, okay, in French, Tunsol. I've talked about calculus, Professor Calculus. In Bengali, it's calculus. In the original French, these two guys are not here. I think they briefly appear in the end or somewhere. I don't remember. Uh, the two, the twin detectives, who are not twins, but they do look alike. They are Dupont et Dupont in French. Now the spelling is like in French, Dupon, that is Dupont, or in French you'd pronounce it as Dupon, Dupont, and Dupont. The pronunciation is exactly the same because the spelling in French is Dupond or Dupond. So Dupont and Dupont. In English, you would pronounce it as Dupont and Dupont, but in French, it's Dupont et Dupont. So one of them has to say Dupont avec D, or Dupont sans D, Dupont with D, or Dupont without D. Now in English, that was translated into Thompson and Thompson, which is Thomson and Thompson. But in the Bengali version, it was totally turned into something it was turned into something totally different. It was Johnson and Ronson. Go figure. I don't know. I didn't really get the logic. Johnson and Ronson. But I suppose it sounds funny in, Johnson Ronson. It sounds funny in Bengali. Oh, yeah, the Brits. They have made funny names like that, Johnson Ronson. What's the difference? So, Johnson and Ronson. Well, okay. Now let's find some more Indonesian gems. I think the next place where Indonesian was used, yes, that was really funny, where these people are two gods. They speak amongst themselves. Yes, here. Now, these two are competing against each other because they have both been injected with the truth serum and they're competing against each other about being more evil than each other. And Tata and Captain Haddock, they are allowed to take these gods as their prisoners. So meanwhile, what are they talking about? So this is where some information comes in, and this is really fun. So the first one, this guy on the right, he's saying, "Kita di rumah biasa tambah sedikit sambal ulet." I mean, this is just usual talk. He says, "Kita di rumah." Kita means we, di rumah. At our home, usually we add a little bit of sambal, sambal ulek. It's a sauce. It's a very spicy made of pepper. Ulek is the pestle. So they take hot chili peppers and they make it into a paste, and that is sambal ulek. So he's saying that usually at home we usually use a little bit of sambal ulek with our food, of course, right? And the other guy is saying itu bukan jelek. That is not very bad. That is not very disgusting. Jelek. Now again, jelek is Jelek. Jelek is something disgusting in taste, not good in taste. Jelek, you know. So and again here the spelling should have been Jelek, but again you have the Dutch influence here. So old style. Itu bukan jelek. Probably at that time, probably they were still using this kind of thing. I mean, animation wasn't standardized. I wouldn't know exactly. I have to look up the year. Tentu lebih enak tetapi. So itu bukan jelek, and he agrees with it. Itu bukan, it is not disgusting. Of course, tentu lebih enak tetapi. But of course, it is more lebih enak tetapi, more delicious tetapi. Tetapi. Now, tetapi is a very, very interesting word. I have a lot to say here. Tetapi means but, or in short, they sometimes say tapi. Tetapi or tapi. Tapi is something, but. So he's saying that it is not disgusting. Of course, it is more tasty, but it is more tasty. Tetapi. Tetapi is the root of the word tetapi is surprise. I think a lot of Indian would know. People, it is the word tathapi. Tathapi is from Sanskrit. It is in Hindi, it is in Bengali. Tathapi means however or but. So that is a Sanskrit root. of Indonesian. Now, Indonesian is such an interesting language. I mean, it, it, it's a the first of all, the first layer is Austronesian, the original Malay. Of course, the Austronesian. I would think it is the Austronesian essence of the language, which were the Aboriginals, maybe from the Java Manoodles, the original people of the islanders. They had their language. I think that is the main. I mean, it could go right up to Polynesia, New Zealand, Maui. I think they all have the same root. I wouldn't be sure about the language groups here, but I think it has it's Austronesian. That is the bedrock of the language. And then Malay, now this is interesting. Malay is a Chinese word. Ma in Chinese is horse, and Malay were the people who came on horseback. And they came right from the south of China, from the plateau. I forget the name of the plateau. Mulan Plateau, was it? Anyhow, they there was the first Chinese invasion down the Malaysian. That is how Malaysia gets its name, Malaysian Peninsula, and they come and mix. And probably there was a lot of intermixing, and then it became a culture. So you have layers of ancient Chinese coming into the language. I suppose I'm not very sure. I'm not a linguist. Somebody who knows about this would be able to probably find out the similarities between ancient Chinese and its influence, or the Malay, the language of the Malay people and the Austronesian, how it mixed up in the islands of Indonesia and Malaysia, in Sumatra, Java, and places like that. And then, of course, and even in Thailand. And then, of course, then there was the Sanskritization, which is the Hinduization of the islands. At one time, Sanskrit came in because of the South Indian rulers. I think there were connections even in ancient times because, and then of course Ramayana. Indonesia is very culturally connected to India, and so there was. So you have a lot of Sanskrit words suddenly springing up, jumping out at you. That's what I noticed when I first came to Indonesia. Because when I landed in Indonesia, there was this poster which said Dirgayu Indonesia, Merdeka Dirgayu Indonesia. So that was the 17th of August when they got the independence from the Dutch in 1940, 45, I think. And so they celebrate their Independence Day on 17th of August, and India is 15th of August, but they got it 2 years earlier. And Merdeka means freedom. I don't know the root of the word Merdeka, but the next word was Dirgayu Indonesia. I mean, it just jumped at me, and I say, oh, this means Dirgho Ayu. In Bengali, say Dirgho means long, Ayu means life. Ayu is your lifetime. So Dirgayu, long live Indonesia. There you have another Sanskrit word jumping at you. And there are vowels. I'm sorry, not vowels. Verbs. A lot of words which have connection with Indian words. Probably the language you speak, Bengali, Hindi, whatever, or South Indian. Uh, and that is fun, when you go to a culture, totally different culture, and it's like finding home in a foreign land. Language has this, and it shows the interconnectedness of cultures, and that these are gems, which when you start loving languages and learning languages, these are things which you really cherish when you really understand, and this gives you this warm feeling of the universal unity of the human race on this tiny planet, on this tiny little rock. And I don't know why we have to fight each other and be racist, you know. So yeah, so there you are, the tapi, not happy. And then of course Tintin comes out and Captain Adam says, shoot, ubia pampa, compris, shoot, means shoot in Bengali, or shoot, or basically ubia, otherwise pampa, papa, papa means bang bang. Compris, do you understand? Compris, huh? Silence. Silent, silence, the silence. That's a word you have heard. Anybody who watches tennis knows that. Silence, s'il vous plaît. Okay, so that's a little bit of Indonesian. So yeah, that's I really love that bit again. And for the first time when I read it, even in French, because had no Indonesian, not even a smattering, I had no idea what they were. It was Greek to me for, yeah. And now it makes perfect sense, and that's what I'm trying to share with you. And the fun there is when you start learning any language. Uh, of course, my Indonesian is really poor. I mean, I'm just smattering, but someday maybe if I have time, I will try and pick it up again. Okay, the next part, that's the last bit. I think that's also quite interesting. This is where they are supposed to, they're chasing them, and so this guy, this Alan, this evil guy, this guy has actually, this story is so interesting. It's in, yes, he has convinced the local Indonesian guys of these islands that they're fighting against some tyrants and they're fighting for their freedom. So these are not evil guys. The Indonesians are not portrayed as just mercenaries or anything. These are guys who think they're fighting for against tyrants to free their country. They're freedom fighters, the patriots, right? So that's what he's saying. Like you'll find it here somewhere. It says, when they're trying to, yeah, here he says, Allah my God, here it is. So this little thing about here. So you see how Hergé by now, how mature he has become politically. He has realized what is going on. He's realized who the bad guys are, and he's really showing you different perspectives on how these crooks are trying using some simple people over there. I mean, people who really love the land and who think they're fighting against evil or tyrants or colonizers, and he's acting as if he's one of them, and he's saying, "Allah, le God, let's go, le God, Allah, allez, allez, allez." Allah means let's go. Allez, of course, in French, allez, 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 the song, allez means to go. So Allah means let's go. Let us all go. Allah, allons les gars. Finissons avec ces ennemis de votre patrie. Let's go and finish the enemies of our patrie. You can see the P in has been capitalized. Patrie means fatherland, patrie, patriots, patrie. So this little vignette itself tells you the relations between how what they have done. Of course, it's also repeated elsewhere. I mean, everybody's cheating everybody in this film. I mean, it's really funny. You should read it if you haven't. Anyway, so now they take shelter because Tintin has been telepathically contacted by an the liaison man of the extraterrestrials, and he's being telepathically been instructed to find a cave, and he has found the cave, and they go inside. After they have found the cave and they have gone inside the cave, the villains have already seen them going in, and in fact, they're close uh, on their heels, uh, uh, and of course, they need to go in to catch them. And this is where the last bit of Indonesian is spoken in this album. So what happens is the sidekick of the evil boss, Rastafarius, Alan. Now, Alan is a very old character from the previous albums. He first appeared in the Crab with Golden Claws. He was the first mate of Captain Haddock's ship, and since then he had been uh, always a sidekick or of one evil character or the other, usually after Perfilis. Uh, anyhow, so what happens is Alan asks his men, meaning the revolutionaries, the partisans, and he asks them to follow Tintin, Captain Haddock, inside the cave, and they begin to enter the cave here. And then one of them says, Bharanti, stop, Bharanti. Berhenti is a full word, means stop. Berhenti, stop. Berhentilah. And then this is what he says. He says, di atas batu karang. Lihatlah tanda dewa-dewa terbang ini di atas kereta-kereta berapi. Now, what does that mean? It means di sana, look, over there, di sana. Di sini is here and di sana is there in Bahasa Indonesia. So di sana, he's pointing at the rock there. Di atas batu karang, on top of the coral rock over there. Lihatlah, look at that. Tanda, that is a sign. Tanda Deva Deva, the sign of the gods. Now here it is, Deva. Deva Deva, again, yet another Sanskrit word. Deva Deva. Now what happens in Indonesian is when they want to pluralize any word, instead like in English, you add a S, in Bengali, you do something else, uh, right? But in Indonesian, they just say the word twice. For example, the word for children, for a child in Indonesia is anak, A-N-A-K. And when they want to say children, they say ana. So the same way, lihatlah, tanda dewa dewa, the signs of the gods. What kind of gods? Deva, tanda dewa dewa terbang ini, the gods who fly, terbang, you come here in this place, the atas, the atas from above, kereta berapi, on kereta. How do they, in what do they come? Kereta api. Now kereta api means kereta, the word kereta in Indonesian means a carriage, right? A chariot, a carriage, a cart, right? Kereta, cart, kereta. Now that could be connected. Anyhow, kereta mean carriages, but api, of fire. Api is fire. Kereta api means in Indonesian steam locomotives. That is the word for steam locomotive. That is how they call steam locomotive I mean, from the beginning, and that has become the standard word for trains. Trains in Indonesia is kereta. If you translate that, kereta api is steam locomotives literally, but it means trains anyhow. But in this case, the atas kereta. In this case, it means chariots of fire, fire chariots from above. So that right there is the picture of a kind of a pyramid, a UFO, UAP, whatever you want to call it, the chariots of gods, right? And then the other answer is itu betul. That's exactly correct. Betul means correct. Now they have superstitions, or it's much more than that, I guess. Here, according to the story, they do not go into these caves. It is prohibited. So when Alan says, "What the hell is going on? Why are they going?" Eh bien quoi? Qu'est-ce qui ne va pas? Les valeureux combattants de la révolution ont peur d'un ivrogne, de gamins et quelques chauves-souris. So he's saying, eh bien, what is happening? Well, what is happening? Quoi? What? Qu'est-ce qui ne va pas? What is not working here? Les valeureux combattants, the valorous combatants of the revolution, de la révolution, ont peur, are afraid of a drunk, that meaning Captain Haddock, Captain Haddock, than ivrogne. Ivrogne in French means drunk. The gamma, a little boy, that is Tintin, et quelques chauves-souris, a few rats, right? So, but the guy replies to him, "Ce n'est pas ça, Mr. Allen, Mr." Now, this is very, very interesting. Mr. This is a nice touch. So, you'll notice when the Indonesians reply, when they talk to someone, they usually, if it's a foreigner, if it's bule meaning foreigner, possibly of European, Caucasian, are called bule in Indonesia. But even I've been called Mister when they want to say like we say sir. So they use the word Mister, and the way they say it's very cute. Mister, Mister, Mister. So I mean, I can almost share it. So, ce n'est pas ça, Mr. Allen. Mr. Allen. Uh, these are little cute things you notice about another culture, how people words use words from another culture and how they pronounce it, and that I mean, for some people, now here's the thing: some people find that funny or unfunny or according to their taste. But I always find when people from other cultures have other kinds of accents and they pronounce a word in a certain way, although it might sound funny or strange to our ears, but when you get used to it and you see how it is used and how authentic and sincerely it is used, honestly it is used. I don't know whether those are the right words, but even that pronunciation becomes something of something you like, you begin to like. You know, even so, I mean, accents. Some people have strange taste. Some people do not like accents. Some people will call, say, another language. Oh, that language sounds like, like berber. Like that's where how the that's how the word barbarians came from. They speak like berber, berber, berber. But when you begin to understand a language and you listen to the sounds of the language, you get used to the rhythm. It's always unique and it's always, however strange it might sound, however, coarse it might sound, you can still slowly begin to appreciate it and like it. I mean, I also have certain tastes. Sometimes I do not like certain accents. I know. I mean, sometimes some people speak in English in a certain accent. I don't even like my own accent in English. My English is very accented. I think it varies. It varies. When I speak to a lot of native speakers, my accent slowly begins to adapt to their kind of accent. But when I'm back in India, I'm speaking to Indians, and then my English becomes more like Indian speakers. And when I'm in Bengal, my accent is positively you can find traces of Bengali, and then sometimes everything gets mixed up, and it's like what we call khichuri in Bengali. It's like it's a mixed. So my accent is all over the place. But having said that, I mean, most people speak in one kind of accent. I mean, I mean, you find North Indians speaking in one kind of, although there are variations. And I mean, sometimes they will pronounce some kind of vowels or consonants in such a way. Wow, I mean, it might sound harsh to your ears. But the thing is to, I mean, that's what it is in life. You have to take the effort. You have to, I mean, initially, suspend your uh, judgment or I don't know your tastes and try to hold back and try to get into and understand and listen to their language and then slowly uh, if you really want to you can love any language really and every language is sweet or I mean there are so many things some people say oh French is such a beautiful romantic language I mean I could say the same thing for any language really every language is sweet and harsh according to its usage and we just have these biases. These biases we have to get over. I think from a very young age we ought to make people understand that accents are okay and accents are not a kind of marker for lack of knowledge or you know I mean, it's quite evident. I mean, yeah, of course, accents make it more fun. Really. Anyhow, so as I was saying, Mister, they'll not say Mr. Allen. They'll never say Mr. Allen. They'll probably say Mr. Allen, Mr. And that Mr. sounds so cute, really, to my ears at least. I don't know about you, but yeah, I mean, you could try when you hear that. Uh, yeah, all right. So this guy says, mais on peut pas entrer dans ce souterrain. We cannot enter that subterranean that cave, that underground. Souterrain, underground. Terra is terra mean terrain. Souterrain, subterranean, subterranean homesick blues. What did I say that? Oh, that's well, that's a Bob Dylan number. Yeah. So yeah, they got the subterranean homesick blues or UFO blues here. They don't want to go in there because say enter the, it is not allowed. Mr. Allen. Say he repeats again, Mr. Allen, Mr. Allen, and this is how Indonesians speak. I can see this is good. This is has taken the trouble to research how Indonesians speak would have spoken. Tu vois ce signe-là? C'est celui des dieux qui nous venu, c'est celui des dieux. It is the sign of the gods qui sont venus du ciel, who come from the sky. Sur leur char de feu. Here is the word, chariots of fire. Chariot, char de, or carriages of fire. Char de feu. Si nous entrions, if we enter, le châtiment serait terrible. The punishment will be terrible. Of course, the boss is really angry. What? Just give vous chante là. What are you singing to me? What are you chante? Chante means in French to sing, but in this case, chante means like, what stupidity are you talking about? Vous refusez d'obéir. You are refusing to obey me. Ça vous coûte cher, bande de foussards. And that will cost you a lot, you band of Fusar, that's a word I'm not familiar with, but you get the meaning. It's probably a band of no good or I'll have to check it out. Anyhow, so but then Alan has better judgment, his sidekicks. No patron, no boss, calmez-vous, de grâce, nous, nous avons encore besoin de, nous, nous avons encore besoin d'eux. We still have use of them. Don't just shoot them and kill them. Et rappelez-vous leur frayeur déjà hier soir quand ils ont vu cette lueur bizarre. Laissez-moi faire. Laissez-moi faire. So, I mean, we still have need for them. We don't need to anger them or kill them right now. And remember how scared they were since yesterday when they saw those strange lights in the bizarre strange lights in the sky? UFOs. Okay, laissez-moi faire. Let me do what is needed. So that's the last bit of information here, actually, and then it goes on via Mr. Allen and all that, and the story, of course. So that's about it about the languages. Languages we covered Bengali. That's how I started reading Tintin. Originally started reading Tintin in, and then I did it all in English, and then I did it all in French. And the differences and the subtle differences, the changes, the translations, and you get to these are little, these are gems for me. These are things which I enjoy, and I think anybody who likes and loves languages, and when they put languages together, translations side by side, and all these cultural, subtleties which emerge when you immerse yourself in different cultures and languages, and language is the vehicle of cultural exchange and everything. And now let's end here, I guess, but without. I'd like to draw your attention to the last. This is the funniest part. This is the joke I always laugh about. This is the classic Hergé thing. So there's this monkey, Probos. I think it's called Proboscis monkey. So it suddenly appears at this moment of all times. And this guy, the boss, is already angry because he's suffered from an accident. He was almost killed by a grenade thrown by Alan himself earlier. If you know the story, anyhow, I won't. It's going to be a spoiler if I start telling you the entire story. But anyway, this monkey, this strange monkey ape appears, and so Alan goes, "Oh, truc shows you show it should be you show shows a thing. What is this? Nasik." Then you recognize it. Nasik is the word for proboscis monkey in French. That's what I found out. I never knew about this word. I just checked it out. Anyhow, c'est ça, un nasique. Then he starts laughing. Ah, regardez, regardez-le, détalé comme un lapin. It's scrambling like a rabbit. It's scared. Yeah, monkeys, of course, is scared. It's running away. And then Alan is having his laughs and all of a sudden. So he's saying, quel pif. Pif is the snout or sniff. Pif, piffe. Piffe is to sniff in French. So quel pif. Look at its snout. What a snout. What a nose. What a huge snout. No, mais, quel pif on. Really, what a snout. Vous avez vu ce pif patron? Boss, did you see the snout? Then he's not looking at him. Then he says, Il me rappelle vaguement quelqu'un. It just reminds me of someone. Mais qui? Who does it remind me? And then this is the funniest part of this entire. I would read the whole the comic. In fact, this is the part I read it for sometimes, I guess. Well, that's it. That's it about the superpower of languages. When you learn language, any language, human language, and be it computer language, and computer languages are really human languages. It's a human being trying to tell, that is turned into machine code. But uh, funnily enough, the even the computer languages are about semantics and verb, and sorry, of grammar and something. And that is a approach I take when I usually train people to even learn computer languages. It's so all languages are fun, and of course they're a power to. Uh, it's more power to you if you learn languages. And they say that traveling makes your mind open. You become broader in mind. You become less of a racist, and you understand the world. You understand people. You bridge cultures. Of course, all that those things are superpowers. So any language, it doesn't matter. It could be Polynesian. It doesn't matter whether you have to learn some language which is in demand. Learn any language, and that is going to be a superpower in itself. And every language has so many interesting things in them. They're like, you know, it's terrific to even learn uh, any language. However, they might be an extinct language. Or you could even learn computer languages. Like I do train people, especially I do JavaScript a lot. I write games, and that's also fun. And funnily enough, learning grammar, learning any language, learning French, learning the language of visual arts, all that helped me to learn computer language. So yeah, it's all connected. That's how things go. Well, I think I hope you liked what I had to say. Not much, but I hope I convinced you that language is a superpower. I'd love to hear from you, your comments. I will leave links to my friend Yves Cotten's work, his blog, his cartoons, his books. His books have been made into films, animated films, even 3D. And yeah, so let me end by also thanking Eve again for allowing me, opening up, lending me all the Tintins in hardbound, excellent condition he had in his collection. He actually did his PhD, I think, paper or master's paper on Tintin on the Lotus Blue, the Blue Lotus. Oh, that was an eye opener for me. He had given me his paper, his analysis of Blue Lotus. If I can find it, I'll do an episode on that. And alors, Yves, je te remercie encore une fois pour me prêter tous ces albums euh, de Tata en original. Et oui, c'est ça, à nos amitiés là, for our friendship. So one day, even and I, we used to draw cartoons together at one time, and I think maybe in the future, maybe again. Eve, of course, is prolific. He He keeps drawing every day, and his work is there out there to see. You should really check him out. And so I'll end here right now. Thank you. Thank you for listening to my rambling talk on languages and on this based on this adventure, Tintin adventure, vol 714 to Sydney or flight 714. Well, goodbye, à bientôt, merci beaucoup.